Right, it's 2:30 in the morning, you're dead asleep, and then you feel it. The bed dips, the slow circle, the heavy sigh, and suddenly, your dog has taken up about 80% of the mattress, and you're clinging to the edge like it's a life raft. Sound familiar? Yep, every single night in my house. Now, most people will tell you it's about warmth or habit, or that your dog's just a bit needy. And I believed that too, for a while, until I started working in veterinary medicine. Because what I've seen in clinic and what the science actually says tells a completely different story. What your dog is doing when they choose to sleep beside you is one of the most extraordinary things happening between any two species on this planet. And by the end of this video, you'll never look at that bedtime routine the same way again. So let's get the warmth thing out of the way first, because I hear it all the time. Sure, the dog's just cold. Grand, except your dog has the couch, the sunny spot by the window, the radiator, maybe a pile of laundry that's been on the floor since Tuesday. If warmth was the goal, they have options, loads of options. So why do they walk past all of them and come straight to you? Here's the thing, and this is something that really shifted my thinking when I started working with animals professionally. Sleep is the single most vulnerable state any animal can be in. Every survival instinct your dog has, instincts passed down from thousands of years of being hunted, is telling them, find somewhere hidden, somewhere safe, somewhere nothing can get you while you're unconscious. And instead, your dog walks past every quiet corner in the house and climbs into bed with a human who is 5 times their size. That's not about temperature. That's about trust. So if it's not about warmth, what is it? Researchers at Eötvös University in Budapest have done some of the best work on dog cognition in the world. They've adapted a test that psychologists use on human babies for decades. I see this in the clinic all the time. I'll have a dog come in for a procedure, maybe they're getting their bloods done, a wound stitched, and they're grand, nervous, but managing. And the second the owner leaves the room, completely different dog. Whining, pacing, won't settle. And the second the owner comes back into the room, you can physically see the tension leaving the dog's body. So when your dog chooses to sleep beside you at night, they're performing the most fundamental behavior in attachment psychology. They're seeking closeness to their safe person at the moment when they feel most vulnerable. They're not being clingy. They're telling you that you are the safest thing in their world. Now here's where it gets really fascinating, because it isn't just psychology, it's also chemistry. In 2015, a team at Asabu University in Japan published a study in the journal Science. And for context, Science is one of the most prestigious scientific journals on the planet. You don't get published there with anything less than extraordinary findings. They measured oxytocin levels in 30 dog owner pairs during interaction. Oxytocin, you might have heard it called the bonding hormone. It's the same neurochemical that floods a mother's brain when she holds her newborn for the first time. And what they found was extraordinary. When a dog gazes at their owner and the owner gazes back, both of them experience a surge in oxytocin simultaneously across species. The dog's oxytocin rises, the owner's oxytocin rises, which makes the dog want to gaze more, which releases more oxytocin, which makes the owner feel more bonded, which makes them gaze back. It's a self-reinforcing loop that just keeps building. And here's the kicker. They tested the exact same interaction with wolves raised by humans from birth. The loop didn't activate at all. This co-evolved specifically between dogs and humans over thousands of years. No other animal on this earth shares that with us. And physical contact amplifies it. Researchers found that just 10 minutes of petting your dog produces measurable drops in cortisol, your stress hormone, in both of you. Now think about what happens over 8 full hours of sleeping pressed against each other. Here's a question almost nobody thinks to ask. When did dogs and humans actually start sleeping next to each other? The answer? Basically from the very beginning. Dogs are the only animal domesticated before agriculture, before farming, before cities, before we could even write things down. Roughly 15,000 years ago, wolves began approaching human camps, drawn by food scraps, warmth from fires. The friendliest ones, the ones least likely to bolt, survived better near humans. They passed on those traits, and over generations, they weren't really wolves anymore. In Germany, archaeologists found a burial site dated to 14,000 years ago. 2 humans buried together and 2 dogs beside them. But the detail that absolutely floored me when I first read it was this. One of the dogs had survived severe canine distemper. Now, I need to explain what that means because I've treated animals with distemper and it's horrific. It attacks the respiratory system, the gut, the nervous system. Survival rate is low, and if they do survive, it's only with weeks of intensive care, nutrition, fluids. But somebody did that for this dog 14,000 years ago with no veterinary medicine, no fluids, no nutrition, no antibiotics. Why? Because they loved it. These weren't just working animals. These were family. Geneticists have since found that domesticated dogs carry unique genetic insertions on chromosome 6, linked to extreme friendliness and human-directed social behaviour. Wolves don't have them. Dogs were literally shaped at a genetic level to want to be near us, to sleep near us, to bond with us. Alright, now I want to tell you about a study that nobody talks about because the finding seems like it shouldn't be possible. Researchers at the Mayo Clinic tracked the sleep quality of 40 adults and their dogs over 7 nights. And the data was clear. Dogs objectively disrupted human sleep. Movement, repositioning, the 3 a.m. stretch that takes out your ankle, you know the one. The numbers said sleep was worse. And yet, nearly every single participant reported feeling more comfortable, more secure, and more rested when their dog was in the room. How is that possible? A researcher at Canisius College surveyed nearly 1,000 women and found that dogs were rated as less disruptive than human bed partners. More comforting, more consistent. And when she followed up with more motion trackers, she found that owners were briefly waking up every time the dog moved, but almost never remembered it. The physical disruptions were real, but the felt sense of safety was stronger. This is where I think it gets really profound. We spend most of human history sleeping in groups. The solo bedroom, the isolated 8 hours in a dark room, that's the exception, not the rule. Maybe your dog isn't ruining your sleep. Maybe they're restoring something more ancient than any sleep hygiene tip you'll read online. In 2024, a team of the University of Jyväskylä in Finland published something that blew my mind. They monitored heart rate variability, HRV, in 30 dog owner pairs across 6 different conditions. HRV is one of the gold standard measures for how your autonomic nervous system is functioning. High HRV means you're relaxed. Low HRV means your stress response is switched on. During every condition they measured, dogs and their owners showed correlated HRV patterns. Their nervous system were literally in sync. When the owner was calm, the dog was calm. When the owner was stressed, the dog shifted too. And the synchronization was strongest during rest. They tested it with dogs and unfamiliar humans. No synchronization at all. Only bonded pairs. Now I can tell you from clinical experience that this is real. I've had owners come in tears because their dog is sick, and the dog is feeding off that energy completely. And I've had the opposite. An owner comes in calm and steady, and the dog is feeding off that energy completely and settles right alongside them, even during uncomfortable procedures. What the Finnish study is telling us is that sleeping beside your dog isn't just comfort. It's a neurological event. Two separate nervous systems from two different species co-regulating each other through the night. Right, there's one last thing I need to tell you. And honestly, this might be the most important part of the whole video. And as a veterinary nurse, I just can't leave it out. If your dog has been sleeping beside you for months or years and suddenly they stop, please don't brush it off. You see, dogs are creatures of habit, and when a deeply established behaviour disappears overnight, there's always a reason. Sometimes it's environmental, a new pet, a new person, a change in your routine. But sometimes, and this is the one that worries me professionally, it's physical. I've had dogs come into the clinic and the owner says, "She just stopped jumping on the bed a few weeks ago. I thought she just grew out of it." And when we examine the dog, we find soft tissue injury or arthritis or even spinal pain that they've been quietly managing on their own. Veterinary research has shown that changes in sleep location are one of the earliest behavioural signs of pain, appearing even before limping, before stiffness, before anything that's obvious. A dog who stops getting on the bed might not prefer the floor. They might be hurting. And in older dogs, over 8 years or so, disrupted sleep patterns are one of the hallmark symptoms of canine cognitive dysfunction. That's the dog equivalent of dementia. It affects an estimated 35% of dogs over the age of 8. So if the nightly ritual changes, pay attention. Your dog doesn't have language, and their behaviour is the only way they can tell you when something is wrong. And if you're not sure, bring them to your local vet. That's what they're there for. So the next time you wake up at 3 in the morning with about 6 inches of mattress and 80 pounds of dog lying against your legs, take a second before you shove them over. Because what's actually happening in that moment is 15,000 years of evolution. A neurochemical bond that no other species on Earth shares with us. An attachment system that mirrors the bond between parent and child. And two nervous systems quietly co-regulating each other in the dark. Your dog didn't end up in your bed by accident. They chose you. Not the floor, not the radiator, not the warm spot by the couch. You. Because you are the safest place in their world. And honestly, science says they might be doing something extraordinary for you too. If this changed how you see your dog tonight, subscribe and leave a comment telling me where your dog sleeps. I read them all. And if you've ever wondered why your dog stares at you with those eyes, that's the next video. I'll see you there.